This here is the Ultimea Thor T60. It is a 4K ultra short throw projector that does support 3D and Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos 2, built-in speakers which are 15 watts each. There are 2 of those. I'll be covering the fan noise, sound test as well of those speakers, image quality, exactly what you can expect out of it, a little bit of gaming, and the UI and some of the settings too. It is running Android TV 11. Now this projector you can currently see is projecting an image behind me, so it is bright enough with its 4000 ANSI lumens to be able to do this. But it's also aided by the fact I'm using an ALR screen. The projector does have a color gamut coverage of 120% BT 2020. Included with the Thor T60 triple laser TV, you'll find our power cable, HDMI cable, user manual. There is a warranty card, so we get 3.5 years with this particular model, and then our remote, which is a standard style Android TV remote. You'll see that it does have some shortcuts there for Amazon Prime Video, Google Play, YouTube, focus, volume up and down, Google Assistant right there, directional controls, settings, home, back, OK's in the middle, mute, and then the power. Now it does take 2 AAA batteries, which are not included. Now the Thor T60 does support 3D, and it's those 3D shutter style active glasses. So you can get a set like this and they're going to work with it. So here we have the design of the front. Now it is just the speaker grills up front here and the branding of it, and I like it. I think it's a good look, the projector. It's nothing that stands out too much. Won't be an eyesore sitting in your living room or in your own little home theater setup that you have. The materials they've used with this are plastic, and up the front here we've got those 2 15-watt speakers. Later on I will give you a sample of just what they sound like, but a bit of a spoiler now, they're actually quite good for built-in speakers. Top right hand side you will find our power button here and status LED. Both the left and right are like this, so there are just these vents here, and this is because there are fans inside and there's a little bit of fan noise. I'll give you again a sample of that later on in the video. So it's actively cooled, cooling down those internals and the laser and everything, so it's not going to overheat. And for our ports on the back, we've got 2 USB type A's. They are 5 volts, 1 amp each there, and then there are 2 HDMIs. Now the HDMI 2 is the one that supports eARC. We got an RS232 connector here, optical out for audio, coaxial video out, and then our LAN port. And just below all of that is AC, of course, to power this projector. Now it is a DLP projector, so our laser, tri-laser setup, RGB, and we're looking here at a 4K HDR supporting model, 4000 ANSI lumens, 3D support with it too, Dolby Vision. This is an important one. There's not a lot of Dolby Vision projectors out there at the moment, ultra short throws. This now is, I believe, the 2nd or the 3rd that I have covered, and it does support Dolby Atmos and DTS HD audio. Like other ultra short throw projectors that I've been covering, there is this, which is eye protection. There are 2 sensors either side. Now, if anyone gets too close to it, what the projector will do is sense this, dull the image down just to help save your eyesight. So that is why they call it eye protection. The projector sits on these 4 rubber feet, which are height adjustable, so they can aid you in setting up and correcting that image to try and get it as squared up as possible. Now there is here 4 mounting points, so you are able to put this onto a mount if you wanted to do so. Alright, so this is my setup. I do have this ALR screen. It's an expensive one because it's motorized, and the screen is going to improve the quality of the projection. This is 120 inches, and this is with the Thor T60 about 54 centimeters, where the lens is away from this 120-inch ALR screen. So here we are in the UI. This is Android TV version 11 that it is running, and there was an update for it. Now we do have a Widevine level 1 cert, which is important. We've got that Dolby Vision support, Dolby Atmos, that's all there. And it does seem to be working, as I'll show you shortly too with Amazon Prime Video, Netflix. I'll do some tests. So the menu is normally pretty quick. I have noticed sometimes it can be a little slow if there is an update going on or something else in the background with Android TV. It can sometimes bog down a little bit, and you do notice there's a bit of a delay getting around through the menu. But once that passes, it is quite quick. As you can see now, everything does seem to load in quite
fast there. Now, we do have Google Assistant, of course, that's part of Android TV, and you do have Chromecast, all of that is there. But let's just run through some of the settings we do have. So some of the settings in here, I don't recommend you adjust. There's no need to really go in and change them. Like Dolby Vision, for example. Yes, that's on board. It works well. So size, you have 100 and you could put that up to, I think it's talking about the projection. So if I set that to 120, I haven't really noticed it change anything. Gain 1.6. Again, I wouldn't really change that at all. Picture calibration, so this is our keystone. Now on camera right now, it looks a little bit off. That's because of my ultra wide lens that I'm using to fit this all in, and a little to do with where my tripod is and the position of the screen. And I do apologize for that, but it's very difficult with projectors to get them looking exactly how it is. So the menu here on the right in the gray, you may see a tiny bit of banding. Again, this is just my camera settings for that. So focus adjustment, very bright screen here. You can definitely see the 4000 ANSI lumens at play here. So this is where you can fine tune, tweak your focus. Display mode, so if you are going to be using this, say, a ceiling mounted, then this is where you'll go in there and change that setting. Eye protection mode, so you may want to disable that if someone's always walking in front of where the projector's placed on, say, some furniture or something, then disable that. But it will dim down the screen. As you can see now, this is me testing it out. If you get too close, it dims it down and it does warn you about that. And then finally, the lighting settings. So you've got highlight, standard, and energy saving. I've just got it set to standard now for my recording. You put it on highlight, there's really not much of a difference. I'd say the brightness seems to go up only about 10% or something from standard. So back at the menu now with Android TV, you have all of your favorite applications. You can get plenty more out of Google Play Store. You've got Play Games there too as well. YouTube, Google Play Movies and TV. But I believe most people will probably be using the likes of, say, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, which I will jump into now and show you what that's like. Okay, so it's loaded in there, Prime Video, very quick. Just scrolling down, I don't see any issues with caching with those thumbnails. They all do load in quick, pop up really fast. And I am on the Wi-Fi 5G here with this, so not 2.4. Which is going to speed things up a little bit. So going into the Lord of the Rings of Power, I want to see if it's going to pop up, and I do know that it will. There we go. Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, definitely listed there, does support that. So hit play on this, and I'll just show you a brief amount of this for copyright purposes. This is all I can show you, but look at this. It loads in very quickly, and the resolution looking good, looks sharp. And I'll just get out of that. So it's very good, the performance. There is no noticeable problems with things being slow or anything like that. No, performance is very good. Netflix here, as you can see, I've got it up and running and the performance of it is fine, but there are a couple of things I wanted to point out. Firstly, it's not a native supported app. So if you go into Google Play Store and you search for Netflix, it will not show up because it's just not a supported device. I had to mess around with different APK files and I've noticed that it's not supporting 4K at all, but the quality seems to be all right. It does seem to be at least in HD or full HD. I'll just play a couple of seconds here of Ghostbusters just to show you. You see that quality, that's not actually too bad. That is definitely watchable, but it's not in 4K. You can tell that is definitely not in 4K, even though my account does support 4K and I've logged into it. It's just not going to work here because it's not Netflix certified, this projector. So far, so good, but this scene right now, I can see that the reds, this is typical for laser TVs, but here definitely the reds seem to be quite a bit overpowering the other two colors. Of course, we've got the red, green, and blue, but the red is coming through just so strong here. I'm noticing that my skin tones are looking bright red here, that I almost look like I'm a little bit sunburned. So other than that, the image quality, the sharpness, streaming here at 4K does look good. The sharpness is looking good as long as, of course, the source material is itself nice and sharp, being, say, native 4K. I can clearly see this source material, even though I'm running 4K, isn't, because we're getting some blurriness to it, doesn't look quite as sharp. But when it is the source material being 4K, that does stand out. It does look good, the sharpness. I don't see any issues with motion either, like ghosting. None of that seems to be happening too. No color fringing, so it really just is, for me, my point of criticism for the image quality is the reds are just a little over the top. But that's how it is just out of the box. I'm talking about the default image quality. Now I can go into picture. I can find here, well, I can adjust a little bit the hue if I wanted to, the gamma, but color temperature is probably the easiest way to do this. So click on this, go to the red gain, and I would simply just tone this down a little bit. I would bring this down to -20. Now we'll have a look. Okay, it does seem to have addressed the issue a little bit. It's lowered down the reds, I think, at least I can tell here. It doesn't seem to be as bad as what I was looking at before. So that's helping out a lot if you just tone down on that red a little. And finally, a little bit of gaming now. So with my PlayStation 5 playing Dirt 5 here, no problems with the latency for this level of just console games here. It is fine. So when I stare to the left and the right, I'm not noticing any huge delays or problems that it would make the game unplayable at all, even though, yes, my driving at the moment here is quite terrible. So the good news is too as well, there's another thing, is that the PlayStation 5 did detect this as an HDR10 compatible display, so we don't have that problem to worry about. And it is, yes, at 4K right now. Everything is looking very sharp, really detailed, and just so immersive gaming at 120 inches versus what I typically game on, which is a lot smaller than this. What about our fan noise? Now, all of these projectors are, of course, actively cooled. There's fans in there to keep them nice and cool, stop them from overheating. Now, it's a constant RPM. The fan noise is not bad for this style of ultra short throw laser projector. So for built-in speakers, they are not bad at all. They're two 15-watt speakers, Dolby Audio, these Dolby Atmos support, and they're loud. They've got a bit of bass to them, and for built-in speakers with a projector, I think they sound good. Here's a sample of them at 100% volume.
The Thor T60 checks out in a lot of areas. The big one for me is the brightness, 4000 ANSI lumens. It's on behind me, as you can see right now, and with projectors that don't have that kind of brightness, it would look very washed out, the image. And as I mentioned, yes, the ALR screen that I do have behind me is certainly helping out that image quality by just boosting the contrast of everything and not letting the ambient light affect it so much too as well there. So the built-in speakers, from the sample I gave you, 15 watts each, there's two of them, they sound actually reasonably good. Now most people will be using external sound systems, your external amp, your setup that you probably have, and that would be of course a lot better. Now we do have eARC support with HDMI 2, as I did show you. Runs Android TV 11, which is smooth enough, but we don't have native Netflix support, unfortunately. You need to hunt around for an APK file to install that. It's a bit of a hassle, and then you need to use a mouse with it, at least the version that I managed to get working with Netflix. I had to use a mouse, but it did seem to be okay, the image quality, but it certainly was not 4K, and there was no Dolby Vision. Now we do have the Dolby Vision with Amazon Prime Video at least, and it did seem to be very good, that quality. And speaking about that image quality a little more in detail too, that the blacks, I noticed no speckle, no grain. I didn't notice any color fringing either. However, my criticism of the image quality is that the reds are oversaturated. The green and the blue seems to be fine, but the red's just a little bit overpowering, and I do see this a lot with laser projectors, so I recommend you just tweak that back a little bit, unless a firmware update is going to be correcting that anyway. Maybe that's up and coming, which would help out. Now the Thor T60 does support 3D, and the 3D quality of it does seem to be fine. It's using that shutter system with the 3D glasses, so you can do the side-by-side splitting it, and then you get those lower quality images with each eye coming through. And overall, for what I've seen with these kind of projectors, ultra short throw 4Ks, and the 3D quality seems to check out there just fine, so no issues with that. So there we go, that's the full story of the Thor T60 ultra short throw projector. Thank you so much for watching this video.